I know that another call is coming today. I don't know when and I don't know why, but it will. They have been the only constant in the chaotic maelstrom of decision and consequence that has been the last few weeks of my life. Oddly reassuring knowing I can look forward to them, yet completely powerless to know exactly when they will occur or more importantly, what I should do about them. Any doubt is gone. I have seen too many things to believe it is just some trick or coincidence. I don't want to believe, but I have to now. I know I have a responsibility to do something, I just don't know what that is most of the time. I am tired and overwhelmed, but someone has to do something, and that someone is me. I was chosen to know what will happen and given the burden of stopping it, or just bearing witness. I suppose I understand how ignorance can be bliss now. Sorry, I should elaborate and tell you what has been happening to me these last few weeks. I know it might sound crazy, but bear with me. The first call was 2 weeks ago. I was just getting off work and had to take care of something that was equal parts annoying and expensive. I needed to pick up a new phone since I managed to completely break my old Galaxy by dropping it the day before. The screen shattered of course, but worse, some damage to the internal components completely broke it, and it would not boot up or do anything other than display a blank screen. As I was about to head out to purchase my new device, the seemingly dead phone sprang to life and started ringing. Not with my own ringtone, but a strange chime I had not heard before and was not sure if it was even in the list of pre-programmed ringtones. I was confused how it could still ring but was momentarily relieved since I figured it might still work after all. I could not really afford anything better at the moment anyway, so if I could, I would save the expense. Putting aside the decision to keep my shattered phone a while longer or not, I answered the call. I was surprised and disturbed when before I could even say hello a panic-stricken voice cut me off. Help. Oh God, please help, someone stabbed him. They stabbed Michael. Please send help. It sounded like someone was trying to call the emergency line, and somehow it got sent to my broken phone. I was confused, and I tried to explain to the distraught person on the phone that I was not emergency services. I am sorry, I know it sounds like a real emergency there, but you need to dial 911 and get help. I don't know who this is and I can't track the location. This is a personal cell phone, not 911. Before I could try and explain more, I was cut off. What do you mean? I did call 911, I need help. Someone stole our car and stabbed my boyfriend Michael. We need help now. Get a real dispatcher or something please. He is losing so much blood. We need help now. We are near the park on, what was it? She paused, likely confirming the address. We are on 4th Ave and Beckett Street, I think, please send help. I did not know what I could do. I had tried to suggest they call 911 but they sounded sure that they had. I did not know how to tell the panicked woman that I couldn't help. I finally decided on a plan and told her, "Alright ma'am, try and stay calm. I will try and call emergency services myself and send them there. Please try and call 911 again over there and see if it routes you correctly so someone can help. What can I tell them your name is?" There was a pause and the voice on the other line spoke again. "It's Kendra." Kendra W. Static interrupted her response and after a moment the line went dead. I tried to call 911 but after that call my dead phone had died once again and it was unable to make even an emergency call. I hope that whoever that Kendra woman was got hold of emergency services. I had no idea how I had gotten the call but either way they really needed help and I sure was not an EMT. I thought they likely got through since I did not get another call, but the more I thought about it the more concerned and responsible I felt. I considered the location she gave. I knew that park, it was not too far from where I was, so I figured I would go and check and make sure that they got through to 911 and someone was there on scene to help. I drove out to the park and found the corner of the park by 4th and Beckett. Not many people were around since it was fairly late in the evening. Certainly no signs of a stabbing or carjacking on this street corner. Since no one was around, I started thinking that maybe I had been the victim of a prank and that no one was here. It might have just been some elaborate crank call meant to rile people up about emergencies for some kind of sick entertainment. I felt upset by being fooled, but also relieved that no one was really in trouble, and I decided to head home. The Verizon store was closed by that point, so I would have to try again tomorrow. I stuffed the Verizon coupon I had saved and hoped would help discount a new phone for me back into my pocket. Having scribbled the address that Kendra had given me on the back of the paper, I started to feel silly for having gone out there. The next evening after work, I was planning to go buy the overpriced replacement for my phone again. As I got into my car to leave, I fumbled in my pocket for the coupon I had received and had written the address from the prank call the day before on. It was not there. My heart sank. It was a coupon for $100 off on a new Galaxy phone, which, considering how much they cost, was not a huge percentage, and I would have to finance it anyway. Still, $100 was $100. I still had a while before the store closed, so I decided to check back by the park. I thought maybe I may have dropped it there when I had gotten out to look for the so-called crime scene. It was a stupid idea, I knew that. I figured that unless someone was going to buy a phone, they might not have picked it up and it could still be there. I drove back to where I had been the previous night. There were more people around this time, a few joggers, some bike riders, and people walking the trail. I parked and got out of my car and started looking near where I had been standing the night before. The whole idea was stupid, but if it could save me a bit of money, I would go for it. As expected, after fumbling around for a few minutes, I could not find the paper anywhere, and I started walking back to my car. I saw a young couple walking hand in hand back to the parking lot as well. They had arrived back at their car and the gentleman opened the door for his lady. I thought the gesture was very sweet, which made the next few moments even more horrifying. As he closed the door and started to the driver's side, a figure dressed in all black jumped out of the nearby bushes and shouted at the man. I couldn't make out the words from where I was, but he was holding something, and when the gentleman reached into his pocket, the figure in black lunged forward and attacked. He seemed to stab the gentleman several times, and I heard a scream from the woman who had just emerged from their car. She was still screaming and rushed towards the fallen man, and I thought I heard her shout, "Michael, no." I stood there frozen, unable to act. I knew I should help, but I was paralyzed by the sudden brutality and horror of the situation. Before I could move, the man in black peeled out of the parking lot in the couple's car. They remained where they were, her screaming continued, and she held on to him. The sound had finally snapped me out of my confused and terrified daze, and I raced over to try and help. As soon as I approached, the woman looked up at me. Her hands were covered in the man's blood and she begged for help. "Help, call 911. He's been stabbed. My Michael, he's been stabbed." I fell back in confused shock. The voice was familiar, the name was too. That was the woman from the phone call yesterday. It sounded exactly like her. There was no mistaking it. I couldn't understand how it was all happening in that moment. My confused reverie was interrupted by the woman shouting me back to my senses. "Don't just stand there, please, we need help." I did not know how to respond, but I managed to stutter out a meek, My phone's broken. I am so sorry, maybe I can find help." As I backed away trying to figure out what to do, a jogger had happened by and raced over to help. She sat down with them and was assisting in stabilizing Michael. She had given her cell phone to the woman who seemed to be calling 911. As she finished dialing the number, I felt an odd tingling in the air, and suddenly my broken phone vibrated and a notification bell chimed. I sat there dumbly watching everything unfold as disbelief. After a brief delay, I heard her speak, and I was not prepared, though perhaps I should have been, for what happened next. "Help. Oh God, please help, someone stabbed him. They stabbed Michael. Please send help." I felt an odd thrumming of electrical energy from the phone as she spoke, and I knew what she was going to say next. "What do you mean? I did call 911. I need help. Someone stole our car and stabbed my boyfriend Michael. We need help now. Get a real dispatcher or something, please. He is losing so much blood. We need help now. We are near the park on, what was it?" I unconsciously mouthed the words that followed since I had heard them less than 24 hours before. "We are on 4th Ave and Beckett Street. I think, please send help." Another brief pause, and then she would say her name. The buzzing and thrumming from the phone stopped moments after she said her name. It's Kendra. Kendra Wallace. Hello? Hello? Is anyone there? Please send someone. He is going to bleed to death. Please. She continued screaming into the phone and then went back to Michael prone form while the jogger who had come to help attempted to call emergency services again. It sounded like she had gotten through as was giving the location to someone on the phone. When an ambulance arrived, I left the scene. I couldn't handle the insanity of what I had just experienced. How in the hell did I get a phone call about all of the things that had happened that night, the day before? I fell into my car and gripped the wheel and tried to process the insanity of what had just happened. I had no idea how any of this was possible. As I tried to keep from hyperventilating, I heard another notification on my phone. I had received a text message somehow, despite the messenger app not functioning. It had a message screen displayed with one unread message. I tried to see if any other apps or anything would work and it would not navigate to anything else. The only thing I could do was to open the thread. It left me even more confused than I had been before the message just read. Come on, were you even trying? Better luck next time. See you around. Me. I had so many questions. Chief among them was, who the hell was them? And how did they know about what had happened? Before I had time to consider the madness of the situation, my phone started to ring again in the same weird chime from yesterday. I had a feeling I knew what would happen if I picked up. Holding my breath and steeling myself, I answered the call. Placing the phone to my ear and not knowing for certain what to expect, I managed a meek, hello. A voice on the other end responded. They sounded very young, likely a child. Hello, is this 911? We need help. We got in a big car accident and mommy and daddy are not moving. I think they are really hurt. Please help. My heart sank. I started to panic. I did not know if this was really happening or was going to happen like the other call. Whatever the case, this kid's parents were seriously injured or worse. I couldn't exactly call 911 myself and tell them that something bad somewhere was going to happen. I resolved to get as much information from the terrified child on the phone as possible. Maybe then I could do something about it, whatever that might be. I heard crying on the line and I spoke slowly and clearly to try and reassure the poor thing that help would arrive, just not in the way she likely expected. I know this is scary, but I promise I am going to try and help. What is your name and your parents' names? The crying abated slightly and the trembling reply was, Chloe, my name is Chloe, my parents are Richard and Abigail. That is great, Chloe, thank you, and what is your last name? It's Keller. I was grateful she was old enough to know their family surname. Thank you, Chloe. Can you tell me what happened? How did your mommy and daddy get hurt? What happened with the car accident? Did your car hit something? Or did someone hit your family's car? We were just driving down the road, and we were waiting at a red light, and as soon as it turned green and we started going again, a silver car hit us on the side and knocked our car over, and it sped off. I heard more crying, and I tried to speed up the questioning without pressuring her. I didn't know how long I had. Do you know what type of car your family has? What color of car is it, and what is the brand name on the back? There was brief hesitation, and then she spoke again. It is a red car. I think the label says it is a toy something, Toyota. I don't know anything else, that is just what the label says. Red Toyota was something to go on at least, though I had wished I had the model as well. I did not bother asking for the plate number. I doubted she would know or be able to check that. Thank you, Chloe, you are being so brave. Now can you see where you are? Are you able to see any road signs to help find where you and your family are? I hoped she was able to see something to help find them. I had a terrible feeling that if this was somewhere rural, I might not be able to find wherever it was happening. I think I see a sign. I can't get out of the car, I am stuck. It is getting hard to see, there is smoke everywhere. I think I can see a sign by the light we were passing. It says Bishop or Bishop or something. I can't tell from here. Please, it is getting hard to breathe in here. I was dreading the implication of what she said last. If there was a fire and she was stuck in that vehicle and no one was around to help, she would not have much time. Okay, that is great. Can you see another sign or anything else that can help locate you and your mommy and daddy? She started to speak again but went into a coughing fit that lasted for several seconds. She managed to start again. I don't see another street sign, but there is a bus stop or something near the road. I think I see a number 18 on it. I think... Oh no, help. The car is on fire now. Help. Please. Help. Static assaulted my eardrums as I lowered the phone in an anxiety-fueled stupor. The phone was dead again, of course. No indication it had just answered a call from a terrified little girl in the future. I had to do something. I had no idea if it was really going to happen twice. I would not take any chances though. I hoped that the call came from within the city limits, otherwise it could be anywhere, and the chance of finding the right street and getting there on time tomorrow was near impossible. I looked up the municipal bus routes and tried to find a bus stop or route marked 18. With a little map work, I was able to locate it, and sure enough it was right near the streetlight and intersection of Bishop Street and Mullen Ave. I had my location, or so I thought. Now I just needed to know when it was going to happen. I realized I forgot to ask what time it was when I was asking for details. I checked the phone just in case it had a timestamp from the call, but it would not display anything. My hunch was that since the call yesterday came later in the evening, and the actual event occurred at a similar time of night, that the emergencies that correspond to the calls occurred at the same time, just on the subsequent day. I did not want to risk it in case I was wrong, so I resolved to take the next day off of work and get to that intersection and go on a stakeout and wait. I got there at around 6 in the morning and parked on the curb near the bus stop, but not blocking it. It was going to be a long day, but I tried to remain alert and vigilant. As I had expected, nothing happened in the morning or afternoon. I was about to conclude my theory as correct and expect the accident to occur near 10 o'clock in the evening based on the time of the previous call. It was 4:42 in the afternoon and I was about to step out of the car to find a nearby public restroom since I had been sitting there for so long. Suddenly, the phone sprang to life with that eerie chime. I looked at the road frantically for a red Toyota. The phone kept ringing and I realized it might not be related to this instance. It might be a different emergency call. I answered and I heard a new desperate voice begging for help. Hello, 911. My name is Stacy Thomas. I am at the rest stop on exit 112, and we need ambulance and police here right now. A woman has been assaulted, and she is in bad shape. I think she is still alive, but I don't know. Please send someone. It was another one. I had to get more information. All right, Miss Thomas, did you see anything happen or did you just find this woman? I was driving on the interstate and stopped to use the restroom. When I got to the woman's room, there was an out of order sign in front, but I heard a cry for help and found a woman who was battered and barely conscious inside. I don't know what happened, but we need help here now. I considered how I could ask for more details without sounding strange and upsetting the woman on the phone. All right, I promise help will arrive. Would you please tell me if the woman has an ID on her to identify? Also, if she has any keys on her, would you be able to tell what car she has parked there, if it is still there? There was an audible hesitation and I figured she was considering the odd question. Isn't that something the police can do when they get here? We need help now. She is barely holding on. This is a medical emergency as well. Can't the police investigate? It was a fair question and I could tell she was getting impatient, so I was considering how to rephrase it to emphasize the importance of the detail when, to my shock and horror, I heard the audible static that signaled the end of the divining phone call. Hello, still there. 5 more seconds of loud static and the phone was dead. I wrote down all of the details I had for that call. They would have to do. I figured at least I had a location and a general time, though the call was after it happened, so I would have to get there early enough to try and stop it. I wrote down my game plan for tomorrow in my notebook. After my deliberation, I noticed it was starting to get dark outside, and I had to focus on the accident that was going to happen that day. One emergency at a time, I figured. It was getting closer to 10 and I was on high alert. I still did not know what I was going to do to stop the accident. When it was just a few minutes before 10, I got out of my car and walked up to the light. I was just going to have to get their attention when I saw them and hopefully stop them from crossing at the fateful moment. Sure enough, just a few minutes after 10, a red Toyota Corolla was heading towards the light and came to a stop. I looked in and saw a man driving the car with a woman in the passenger seat and a child in the back seat. I tried to flag them down, but they may have thought I was a panhandler, and the father ignored my attempts at getting their attention. My heart was racing, the light was about to change to green, and I knew in my gut it was going to happen. I decided to do something crazy, and I leaped into the road, directly blocking the car from going any further. The father scowled and started honking the horn at me, and the mother had a concerned, almost pitying look on her face. I realized I probably looked crazy to them, but I had to try and stop them from going at just that moment. I looked behind me and the light turned green. Nothing happened, and when I did not see a speeding car immediately, I started to doubt myself. The father looked angry now and was unbuckling his seatbelt, probably to get out and throw me off of the road. He never got the chance. I felt the air pressure and wind blast from a speeding car behind me, and a load crash and strangled scream rang out. I looked behind, and a silver sedan was speeding away from the intersection, trailing blood in its wake. I did not know what it was, but something seemed familiar about that car. I realized in sudden horror that I had seen it before. It was the young couple's car from the night before. It had been stolen, and the carjacker was still in possession of it. Before I could make sense of the horrible connection, I realized that despite saving the family in the car, someone else had not been so lucky. A cyclist had been crossing the road at the same time and was apparently struck by the speeding car instead of the family. I was stunned by the damage that had been done. The man on the bike was torn up and was very likely dead already. I could not process what I was seeing, but I heard a voice shouting in the dim periphery of my senses. "Richard, call 911, we need help. Someone hit that man." Chloe's parents stepped out of the car and told her to stay inside. She regarded me as I back away, and I saw the couple near the body of the biker calling the real emergency services. I backed up with a confused mix of emotions. I had saved the young family, but it had led to that cyclist being stuck instead. As I stood there in a daze, my phone vibrated, and I noticed I had another message. I steadied my trembling hands and read it. "Very utilitarian of you. You saved 3 by sacrificing 1. You are doing better, but not quite there. Keep it up and don't disappoint me." I had no idea how to feel. I thought I could save them, and I did, but at the cost of someone else. I could not figure out why this was happening to me. Why was I chosen? I felt confused and numb, but I had to put those feelings aside. Another crisis had to be resolved, as I had to prepare to handle the other call from tomorrow. Today,